Can I tell you something? Your website doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to clearly show your value and make it easy to book. That's exactly what my Show It templates are built for. You can shop them all now at themonarchdesign.co/shop today. What if the people you think you're competing with are actually the ones who will help you grow the most? This episode proves it. Welcome to the Self-Made Life podcast, the show for creative entrepreneurs who are building their dream business and life on their terms. I'm your host, Ashley Wyatt, designer, entrepreneur, mama of two, and founder of the Monarch Design Co. And I believe success isn't handed to you, you create it. Here, we're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to run a business, the wins, the lessons, and the messy in between. Whether you're scaling your side hustle during nap time, redefining your brand, or ready to take your business full time, this show is your go-to for honest conversations, practical strategies, and inspiration to help you grow with confidence. Because being self-made isn't about doing it alone. It's about building a life and business that feels as good as it looks. So let's dive in. Hey friends, welcome back to the Self-Made Life podcast. Today's conversation is one I've been really excited to bring you. It's real. It's going to be very honest. We've already had some morning banter back and forth. And it's the kind of chat that I wish more people heard when they were trying to build a business while juggling motherhood, identity, and figuring out all the things. So I'm sitting down with someone who brings so much heart to the industry, Puja Malhotra. I was trying to practice the pronunciation, but I'm not very good with rolling the R.
That's totally fine.
So Puja is the founder and creative director of Roop Creative Agency. She blends design, strategy, storytelling, and lived experience in a way that helps creatives step into their work with real clarity and confidence. So we're going to be talking about something that that might feel kind of messy and tender. So redefining ambition, what that looks like in this season, building a business that supports your life, and how cultural identity shapes the way that we lead and create. And yes, because Puja and I offer the same and similar services, we're also going to be getting into community over competition, why it matters, and what that has looked like for us as two creatives in the same lane, and how we can actually support each other instead of feeling threatened. So Puja, before we get into it, we always like to start these episodes with a boss or bust moment. So do you have something that went really well, or maybe something that didn't go to plan for you?
I mean, do you want both?
Yeah.
Well, didn't go to plan we were just talking about this before we started recording, is this recording was not in my calendar. And if it's not in my calendar, it's not happening in my brain. And so I think as a mom and entrepreneur, there's so much going on in your life. And so when I got your email being like, hey, here's the link, I was like, oh no. So that would just definitely be a bust. But you can't always rely on technology. That's a lesson we've both learned with these calendars. And then as far as boss move goes, I think I think this time of year is really reflective, and it's the end of the year. And I find that we set these goals in January, and then this is the time where we reflect and see what's worked and what's not worked. And this year actually is the first year that I offered just the services that were lighting me up. And so I got rid of some of the services in 2024. And so I'm just really proud of how far we've come this year, and how far, I didn't meet all my goals, but I'm also really proud of, being really close to all those goals. And I think that's worth celebrating, especially considering I'm not generally offering the things that I always used to offer. I'm only focusing on branding, website, and mentorship now.
Yeah. Amazing. And, that's just the thing. It's like at the beginning of the year, January 1st, it's like, okay, we throw that number out there and
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh, it's a fresh slate, but just hearing that you've gotten so close to it and like there's still time where, I mean, we have like about a month left, but like there's still time to reach those goals. And even if you don't meet those goals like in the next like, 30 odd days, like you're still doing the work, you're still planting the seeds, and those will still, come to fruition too.
Yeah.
Very similar boat for me as well. Bust was, I think it was last week. We also like had a call and it was not in or something about like the calendars or I don't know. We had to reschedule a bunch of times. But we're here now, which is amazing. And then a boss moment. I'm just feeling really reflective, like in this season. I feel like I started the year very different. I was very pregnant, had my daughter. We met I don't know if we actually met at this Mother Means Business.
No, I'd seen you because you were the one with the baby.
I was the one with the 3-week-old baby, yes.
But I think we talked briefly about nothing like sustainable.
Yeah. I was also just like in the fog of like, okay, is she hungry? Like, it just need a diaper change and like trying to listen, trying to, connect and everything too. But yeah, just like really seeing how far I've come this year, like from last November to now. I'm just feeling really grateful. And it hasn't been my best year yet. And I'm okay with that because I really had a human. And I'm just trusting that all those seeds I've been planting are going to flourish next year. And next year will be my best year yet. So I'm really excited for that.
I think that's really important to celebrate the planting of the seeds too, right? Yeah. I mean, you gave birth to a whole human. Yeah. And so giving ourselves grace and understanding that planting the seeds are going to get us somewhere. And that's really important.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I've been sitting a lot with this lately, and I'm just in a season of juggling a lot, like 2 young kids, clients, marketing, home life. And there's just this pull between ambition and capacity. And hearing conversations like this always makes me feel less alone, especially being in communities like this Mother Means Business and just seeing other people who are in this season. So I hope that this, if you're listening, feels the same for you too. But yeah, if people are listening and just tuning in for the first time meeting you, take us back. Like, how did you start Roop Creative and how did that come to life?
I mean, I think I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just needed to figure out how. So that dream of being an entrepreneur was with me since I was a kid, I can say. And then I ended up doing the whole, like, go to university, get a degree, get a corporate job, and then it was just like everyone around me was telling me, this is it, you've made it. Now you just climb that corporate ladder. And to me, I just was not fulfilled with that. And so what I started doing was I had this side hustle where I was just making like wedding invitations, similar to you, like where I'm just like, I need some sort of creative outlook because, the corporate job was in the same sort of aspect of graphic designer, but it just wasn't letting me be as creative. I was very chained down to that corporation specifically, depending on where I was working, because I have changed in corporates as well. And then the last job I actually took on was a 1-year mat leave coverage. And it was for an art director position. I took that on knowing that I'm not getting another job after this. And I just took the leap because what had happened during that time was I met with a girlfriend who just wanted to pick my brain about branding and websites and all this stuff that I was doing for corporations. And what happened in that coffee date was I had this sense of energy and light that I had never felt before in my job. That's where it clicked. This is what I want to do. I want to help more small businesses grow their business, create a brand, grow their websites, and to take the right steps, all of which I've learned to do with corporations, bring that to smaller businesses. And so that's where that seed was planted in my head. And I knew at that time, like, you know, as much as I liked working with brides, it wasn't where my heart was at. And slowly started kind of taking those projects offline, and even like shut down. I actually, I moved it all to Etsy as templates. And then last year we actually shut down completely because I was done. But yeah, like after that coffee date, it really inspired me to move in a direction that helps me build something like Roop Creative. And that was 9 years ago. And so for me, since then, it's been all about creating something that's sustainable, that's available, and that's, you know, going to let me do the things that light me up, but also help others in a way that it lets them launch their business, launch a campaign, that sort of thing. I love seeing that transformation in clients.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it really comes back to the impact, right? Like as lovely as, you know, wedding stationery is, like it's a very short-lived impact. And that's kind of how I felt too in the wedding world. When you were in corporate, like, did you like go to school for like marketing or graphic design? Yeah.
Yeah. So I did do graphic design, and then I even had like, it's funny because in the back of my head I was just like, one day I'm going to run my own business. So I minored with a business communications degree.
Oh, amazing.
On top of the design. And so I had the design skills in school. I had the business, I was building on the business skills. And then corporate taught me a lot of the things that I like, what I don't like. It also, I feel, gave me a good foundation to build my business on.
Yeah.
And so I don't regret going to corporate, but I was never made for corporate.
Yeah. Where did you end up going to school?
I went to, TMU.
Okay. Yeah. I know they had like that whole like changeover.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of like schools, they don't prepare you for the real world, especially like business, right? Like, I did the joint program at Sheridan College and York University, and you know, we learned a lot about like strategy and like some technical stuff and like a lot of theory, but there was like one like I think it was like design, like business or management or something, and it would, looking back now, I'm like, they talked about like RFPs, and I'm just like, I feel like that's not really like there are RFPs now, like, so RFP just stands for request for proposal, and it's basically when you do like a whole bunch of like work for free in hopes of like getting a job, with getting that whatever. But yeah, definitely not how the real world is now.
Or even work back then. I don't feel like, like, I feel even when I meet new graduates, they're so stuck in like the rules, right? And the rules of design, where it's almost just like, yes, the rules exist and you need to know them, but you also need to flow with the world. Yeah. Right. And you need to move with the way the world's moving. And so, you know, I have seen that in new graduates, and I know I was like that at one point, where I'm like, no, this has to happen this way because this is the rule. Yeah. And it's almost just like a lesson learned, where you start to realize, okay, well, although that might be the rules of design, it might not function well in real life or for what the client needs at this moment. And so you kind of move with that flow mixed in with the rules.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot so I taught at Humber for a couple years in their graphic design department, and I was like, look, guys, the real world is really unforgiving. Like, I am trying to teach you the basics so that, and then also like what else you need to know too, because like, yeah, I'm giving you a critique, but what are you going to do like when a client gives you feedback? Are you going to like, you know, like, you need to stand your ground and really understand like how things work in order to move forward and like be successful in this industry.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and you also need to give your professional opinion, right?
Yeah.
You've studied it, you've worked it, you have the experience, so your professional opinion matters. It's not always about saying yes to everything the client says
Yeah.
because they're paying you. They're paying you for your brain.
Yeah. And your trained
But
eye.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But I do think that there are times where, especially when you're starting out, you might find clients who are not aligned with you. And my best piece of advice in those cases are, because all of us have been there. We've all been fooled into working with somebody who ends up taking advantage of us in some sort of capacity. And my advice is always to get out of it as fast as possible. And if that means giving them what you want, what they want, and moving forward, that might be the case. Now, where I'm at in my business, I don't attract that anymore. I'm also not saying yes to every single project. And so I think that changes, because now I know the people who are hiring me are hiring me for my trained eye, for my value that I bring, the professional opinion. And I think both of us have talked about this, is like, when you're starting out, you say yes to everything, right? And it's easy to get caught up in that. But I think now, where both of us are, we're attracting our ideal clients, and we're wanting to work with people who respect the magic that we create.
Yeah. Yeah. And truly just like respecting and like hiring us for our trained eye and expertise in order to like bring the vision to light, and
Exactly.
also like for the impact that this work provides them, right? Like
Yes.
that's what it really comes down to. It's more than just like a pretty logo. It's the ROI that branding and web design really truly brings.
I always like to say that my services are branding and website, but the impact is clarity and confidence. And so I've actually changed my entire voice to just talk about clarity and confidence, because that's what people leave with. Yes, they have like a pretty logo and, a functioning website, but what they have is like the impact to make confident decisions with their brand and knowing who they are, so they can streamline their offer in a way that really resonates with their dream clients, right?
Are you an entrepreneur trying to grow your business and your family at the same time? Trust me, I've been there. 2 maternity leaves in 2 years, a design studio to run, and a dream that just won't quit. That's why I created my one-on-one mentorship sessions. These 60-minute strategy calls are designed for business owners like you who are navigating growth, motherhood, and everything in between. Whether you just need clarity around your offers, help planning your maternity leave, support building your team, or just a space to talk through what's actually working, I've got you. These sessions are $250, and they're already making waves with creatives who just need a fresh set of eyes and someone who gets it. Head on over to themonarchdesign.co/mentorship to book yours, or just DM me mentor on Instagram at Monarch Design Co. You don't have to figure this season out alone. You mentioned that you're kind of in this season of like refining and tailoring like down your services to the right ones, doing less, but doing it with intention. What does that look like day to day for you?
I think for me, when you're first starting out, and this is me talking about when I first started my business, it's easy to get into this idea of like, I have to make X amount of money, and that's what defines my success. And where, like, I would say, compared to where I was when I first started my business, right now where I'm at is I want to attract my ideal clients. And that's where, like, the art comes out in the best way possible too, right? Like, that's where the best projects come out as well. And also within that, it's almost just like, hey, well, when I'm attracting the very best, I'm also attracting all the good that comes with it. And so my ambitions almost leaned in a different way, where I want freedom to be my luxuries. I want, yes, of course, you need the bottom line. You need the profit in order to run a successful business, but you also want to be able to have the freedom and want to be able to have the creative outlook with people who understand and value the work that you're providing.
Yeah. How has motherhood shifted that perspective and your ambition, or even like how you measure success?
Yeah. Motherhood changed everything for me. So I started my business before I was a mom. And I don't understand when I'm just like, how was I busy before that? Because the amount of things I could do before then, I'm just like, oh, I wish I knew. But motherhood has really shifted the idea of what luxury looks like to me and where I want to go with my business. I think, again, when you're starting out, you're very structured and like, I want to build a business that is maybe a brick and mortar. I want a team. I want this. And those are signs of success in your brain. But, post motherhood for me, it was more like, maybe I don't want all of that. Maybe I want to be able to work with my clients one-on-one, to build one-on-one, to see those transformations all the time. And I want to be able to work from home. I want to be able to have the luxury of working, in first thing in the morning after drop off until pickup and spending that time in motherhood too. So I don't believe in balance. I believe in prioritizing. And I think owning that idea of prioritizing and understanding my capacity is what allows me to build the business that I want now and today.
Yeah, I think that's a really good perspective and point, when it comes to juggling all the things. Like, what is most important now versus later, and how can I really prioritize my time accordingly?
Yeah. And I think you're not always going to win in both, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a famous quote that Shonda Rhimes said, where I'm always reminding myself of that, is like, there are going to be days where I win in motherhood and days where I win in work. And those days are not going to be the same day. And that's okay.
Yeah. And that's the beauty and flexibility of what we do, and creating like a business that fits our life. And very similar to you, like I started my business before I had kids, but I scaled very early on because I knew that I wanted the flexibility to be there for my kids and have a team to support, especially as I went on maternity leave and grew my family.
And that's one of the reasons I started the business too, right? Is like, I knew in corporate I wasn't going to be able to have the freedom and flexibilities that I get in my own personal business. Not only am I passionate about what I do more in my own business, but I also have the freedom to live the life that I want to live and be there for my, in that time I was thinking about my future kids and like be there for my children in a way that I wouldn't be allowed to even in a corporate setting.
Yeah. I remember very early on in my career, it was probably like the second like corporate job that I worked at. And it was a small boutique design studio in Oakville. And one of the designers, she had just gotten back from mat leave. She had her second, and she would be like rushing out at the end of the day because she had to book it for like daycare pickup. And the owners were childless. They were on the brim of like retiring. They didn't understand that balance. And I just remember thinking like, this is not what I want in my life when I am growing a family. So I realized very early on that like corporate is not set up for working moms, even if you do have, the flexibility of childcare. Like, I don't know about you, but like if you're late for pickup for daycare or preschool or whatever, like some of those places charge you by the minute. Like you better like get your butt there ASAP.
Yeah, it's not very nice.
No.
But like also like, I think for me at least, it was, I want to be able to spend time with my kid on a daily basis. Like I don't want that to be something that somebody else manages.
Yeah. I agree with that too. And like growing up, both my parents worked a lot and we were kind of shuffled to our grandparents before and after school. And we didn't see them very much. And I knew that I didn't want that for my future family either. So how how has your cultural background influenced how you show up in business?
Yeah.
I know you just kind of went through a very busy holiday season.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the thing is like culturally, and this has shown up more with motherhood, because now, like a lot of mothers, and the conversation is always around like even Christmas is the holiday magic is not holiday magic. It's just a mom doing a lot of the work.
Yeah.
And for me, that happens more than once a year because it happens during Diwali. And, we also, not religiously, but culturally, because growing up in Canada, like I was born and raised here. And so I wanted to celebrate Christmas when I was a kid. And so my parents did the whole Christmas tree, and now it's become a family tradition. And so now I want to create that magic both times a year, one with Diwali and then one with Christmas. And I think that for me, it's about balancing a culture that is different in so many ways, because I don't think that it is 100% the Indian culture. And I don't think it's 100% Canadian culture. It's like this Indo-Canadian culture that only people within it can understand. How that shaped my business is in so many ways. I was trying to fit in when I first started out. And it's only in the last 5 years that I've decided to embrace my culture and embrace all aspects of me and showcase all of it. What's happened because of that is, A, there's more conversation. And B, I think that more people are seeing a different side of me. And so that attracts, this good value and good attention to who I am. I don't need to fit in. I can be unapologetically myself and still show up. I think that also being South Asian, like we are currently in this climate where there is some South Asian hate. And for me, what that looks like is I want to kind of go the opposite direction and show this like Indian Canadian culture that I've grown up in. I call myself Canadian, right? But I also have this heritage and have this culture that I love to share with my clients, with my family. And how that's influenced my business is I have decided to show up more in it, right? Because I want to show other people who look like me that, hey, there is this possibility for you to build this platform for yourself. And then on the flip side, like I want to share this conversation about culture and being Canadian and what that means, and building something that respects my South Asian roots, but also shares, what it means to be truly Canadian too.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think the more that you share and you talk about it, that is what is going to continually attract the right people in your space.
Yeah. Exactly.
So let's talk about something that I'm really passionate about. And I know we've kind of had this conversation too, but community over competition. So you and I do very similar work. We both offer branding, websites, and mentoring for creatives. A few years ago, like this would have felt very intimidating or awkward, but now it really feels expansive and like, we're not alone. We can chat about the ins and outs of running and building a creative business. What has helped you shift from like the comparison to connection in this industry?
I think I just got exhausted, right? And it just came down to that is nobody's going to understand my story unless they're living a very similar life, right? And it wasn't until I made a couple of friends who are within the same industry that I realized, life becomes easier when we share how we've dealt with the same problems, with the same services. And all of a sudden, my business started getting better. And so it was when I started seeking almost mentorship and seeking, craving some sort of community around my business. Like I had a lot of entrepreneur friends, but I didn't have a lot of friends who are in branding and website because I just looked at it as competition. Why would I be friends with them? But those are the people that understand everything that I go through, whether it's, having a misaligned client or having, something as simple as systems. Like, how do I create a system that helps me function better? What kind of work do you pass on to a VA in your line of work, right? Those are questions that other entrepreneurs can't necessarily answer for me. And so that's when I started to kind of seek this like collaboration community aspect, is when I realized that those answers I'm going to get from people who understand exactly what I'm going through. And I think that goes for like all aspects. Like I just mentioned culturally, like there's like, I don't think I'm in Indian culture. I'm not 100% Canadian. I do think I'm Canadian, but I feel like there's this Indo-Canadian culture that I'm part of that nobody understands other than the people who are in it. And that goes for this as well, is, you know, there is this business aspect of creating branding and website that only other brand and website strategists are going to understand, right? And that's what's going to allow me to grow. I mean, there are times where we've had chats and I'm just like, hey, how did you do this? Or how did you do that? And tell me more. And the communication has just been so open and valuable. But the thing is like, here's the deal. There's enough clients out there for everyone, right? And I want to see you shine.
Yeah.
And I want to see you grow. And that's, I think, becoming each other's cheerleader almost allows us to gain more visibility and reach more people who we're aligned with. And I talk about that alignment of clients a lot, is, you know, the clients who might be aligned with you might not be aligned with me. They might like your process better. They might like your style better, or vice versa. They might like my style better or my process better. But that's not to say that we're, you know, fighting for the same people. There's enough out there for everyone. And I think that's the mindset that we really have to let go of, is that there is enough out there for everyone. We do not need to compete. In fact, we grow more when we share our stories and share, you know, the good, bad, and the ugly. And it happens in every business. And I think that a lot of the times, like especially in women-led businesses, we are pitted against each other over competition. But if you look at our male counterparts, they lean on each other. They do golf trips together. They, you know, they do all these like networking events together. But for some reason, I know as a female, I've been fed this idea of competition since I was little. And so that just translated into my business when I first started. And it wasn't until somebody wanted to collaborate with me that I realized, oh, okay, there are some things that I'm not great at that I might need to lean on somebody else or recommend somebody else for, and vice versa, right? And so I've had people who are in the same industry send me clients because it would just made more sense for me to bring them on, and I've done the same. And there was actually one day where the first time I did this was I realized that this project was not aligned with me and it was not something that I was an expert in, and I passed it on to somebody else. And that very same day, another agency messaged me and was like, hey, we have a project. It's not something that we specialize in, but I know it's something that you can take care of. Can you take this on? And so it was almost just this full circle moment where I passed it on to somebody else, and then they passed it, not them exactly, but another agency ended up passing on something to me. And so how beautiful is that, is we're all growing with aligned projects that really mesh and work with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like truly leaning on each other for those lived experiences, both good and hard, but also like realizing your strengths and weaknesses and supporting each other as a team. Like I remember we were at like a networking event a couple weeks or even like a month or so ago, and I was like, you do Wix, right? And like I was like, perfect. Like, you know, I'm always like trying to build my team and like support like other subcontractors, and like I even white label for like other agencies and designers, and that's kind of like how I've grown my business, because the truth is I'm good at some things, but I know other designers are better at other things. And when we come together collectively, it just adds so much more value, and we're working towards the common good of the client, right?
Yeah. And how great is that for the client? Like they get the best of all worlds, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I truly believe in that, because that impact is like no other impact.
Yeah. What would you tell a creative who might feel afraid of people in the same lane as them?
I would say, go say hi. Go say hi, because you know what's going to happen is you're going to realize very quickly. And this is what happened with me. In the beginning, I was scared. I was terrified to talk to my competition. And it put off like this almost unapproachable vibe. And I think that's what we need to move away from. Coming and just talking to somebody, there are stories that I've shared with you that I've not shared with anybody else, but you understand the perspective that I'm coming from. You understand how you could solve that problem. And collectively, we've put our brains together to solve some problems for each other, right? And I think that that's what's important is once you get over that fear, and it might just be a matter of ripping off that Band-Aid and moving forward by just saying hello, approaching somebody and learning from them. We are in I think you're about the same type of time frame into your business that I am in my business, right? But there's so much that you've experienced that I've probably not experienced, and there's things that I've experienced that you've probably not experienced. So how do we lean on each other and share that information so that both of us can grow? Again, there's enough out there for everyone. So why wouldn't I pick your brain about something that might help me?
Yeah, like you don't need like 100 clients. You just need 10 of the right clients, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What would you say is like one small shift a business owner can make today to find more clarity in their brand or business?
I think for me, especially post-motherhood, it was a matter of finding the right community. That was really hard for me because I think as business owners, we don't get your typical maternity leave. If you want to call it that. And yeah, maternity leave. But I think that finding that community was really hard for me because initially it was a lot of like mommy and me classes, and all those other women were on they were enjoying that time, and wasn't necessarily enjoying that time. I knew that I would have to get home and I'd have to work and I'd have to have a client meeting and this and that. And in my heart, I kept searching for something to tell me that there's other women out there like myself. And when I found that community, all of a sudden I started owning every aspect of myself and all of that's changed since motherhood. I talk a lot about priorities and capacity and all of this, but this is all stuff my community's taught me over the last, year and a bit. If I didn't have them, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be as confident as I am today. I wouldn't be reaching the goals that I'm reaching today. And I think that comes down to meeting women like you who are going through something very similar and understanding that there is like this rainbow at the other side of things. Like, there is this finish line and you're not the only one out there. It really changes your perspective on business. For me, that was honestly through mentorship and community.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. After I had my son, I was really craving community. I had moved to Barrie in 2020 and knew no one, and went to a very corporate-y type of business networking thing. And it was great. I did meet some people, but then that community led me to other groups. And similar to like the Mommy and Me groups, everyone who was part of the Mommy and Me group that I was part of, they all had like typical jobs. They were nurses or teachers, and they, had this, cushy government mat leave. And I was like, I can't sleep when the baby sleeps. I got to work.
Yeah, exactly.
So I actually ended up starting like my own thing because I was like craving that connection. So it was called the Mompreneur Collective, which has really taken a backseat because then I got pregnant and had another baby. Just the season of life, right? Yeah. But then I found Laura's group, This Mother Means Business. I was, nursing my daughter, and this event was happening in a couple days, and I had messaged her. I was like, can I come, but can I bring my baby? She's 3 weeks old. And then I showed up, and then, it's just opened me up to such a beautiful community and world. And I felt very less alone.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what it's all about, is getting rid of that loneliness changes so much in business. And also getting advice from other people who are in the same stage of life as you. Like, I joke about this with another friend of ours from the community, where it's like someone who's childless is not going to understand the trials and tribulations of running a business while going through motherhood. And especially men. I mean, it's very easy for, I'm not speaking against all men, but like, I feel like most men can turn it off, right? They can focus on work only. Whereas like, I don't think a lot of women can, and I don't think I can necessarily, because I want to be able to have it all, but not all at the same time. Right. And so I think that finding that community was really important for me too.
Yeah. If you take anything today, like from this episode, let it be that growth doesn't require doing all the things and doing more. Sometimes it means like leaning on that community, slowing down long enough to hear what you actually need, and collaboration. So let that just be I'm going to leave that with everyone today.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, where can our listeners find you and connect with you and work with you?
Yeah, I mean, I love to have a little fun on Instagram. So I have 2 profiles. I have my business profile, which is Roop Creative Agency, and then my personal one that's a little bit spicy, which is the Puja Malhotra. But I'm more spicy on Threads. So that's where a lot of the fun's happening. And then, of course, like my website, which is roopcreativeagency.com. But yeah, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Wherever you find me, I'm happy to have a conversation. And even if it's like for mentorship or anything, like for me, I want more community. I want more of like, less competition and more of these collaborations. So don't hesitate to say hello to both Ashley and I, because we want more of this, right? Who knows? Like maybe we'll build something one day, but for now, like I think it's really important for us to all just connect and know that we're not alone in kind of all the craziness that happens when you run a branding agency.
Yeah, and all through like the different seasons of life too.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All of it.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Puja. I will be sure to link everything in the show notes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me today on the Self-Made Life podcast. If you loved this episode, share it with a friend, leave a review, or hit follow so that you never miss an episode. Want to work together or grab some free resources? You can always find me over at www.themonarchdesign.co/podcast. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep building, and go create your self-made life.
This podcast is produced, mixed, and edited by Cardinal Studio. For more information about how to start your own podcast, please visit www.cardinalstudio.co or email Mike at mike@cardinalstudio.co. You can also find the details in the show notes.